Hello and welcome back to the channel. I know this isn't baseball, but I thought that I want to do something different after my long break. So, here are my top 10 quarterbacks of all time. Before we start the video, I'd just like to say this is my personal opinion on all these quarterbacks. You can have a totally different list, and that's okay with me. There'll be no bias in this video, maybe, but I can definitely tell you for a fact, number 1 is Zach Wilson. Okay, we're going to start off very controversial with number 10, John Elway. Yeah, I know, he was a great quarterback. That was in the second half of his career. In the first half, he was filled with inconsistencies and great defensive play that carried his teams. Yes, he's a great quarterback, but he's a little overrated. Number 9 is Brett Favre. I love Brett Favre. I remember watching him as a kid and thought he was so cool. But as I've grown older, I've realized that he put the ball in very tight places and threw a lot of interceptions, leading him to be more overrated than underrated. Yes, he's still a great quarterback, but I wouldn't want him on my team because he threw way too many picks, too often. Number 8 is the second greatest 49er quarterback to ever don the jersey, Steve Young. His scrambling ability would allow him to play in today's game. Back then, not a lot of quarterbacks did it, but he did it, and he was one of the greatest to ever do it. But his inconsistencies in the playoffs hold him back. He should have won a lot more than one Super Bowl. Number 7 is Patrick Mahomes, and yes, I'm going to rank him this high. It's my list. I've just never seen a quarterback being able to make throws in tight windows without throwing many interceptions. The magic he puts up every Sunday is incredible to watch, and I'm glad I get to watch it for the next 15 some odd years, knock on wood. But when you go into Madden and you make a character, he's basically who you're creating, a freak of nature. And when it's all said and done, he'll be number 1 on this list, easily. Number 6 is Drew Brees. If Tom Brady didn't exist, he'd be one of the top 3 quarterbacks of all time. He only got 1 ring and 0 MVPs, but his 2011 regular season was the stuff of goats. And I feel like it's a lot underrated because he didn't win MVP that year because of Aaron Rodgers. And please stop the slander that his arm fell apart in his last couple years. It didn't. His weapons depleted. And yeah, of course he got a little older, but I don't think his arm died, as everyone says. Starting our top 5 is Dan Marino, Mr. Quick Release. Now, I wish I could have seen him play because looking at these highlights don't do him justice to how good he really was. Look at his stats. Now, I do wish he got a Super Bowl because that holds him back from being number 3, number 2, or even number 1. Number 4 is Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Choke himself. Now, if he could win a couple more Super Bowls in the next couple years, he could be number 3 or number 2 or number 1, but I don't think so. I told you, no bias here. Number 3, Joe Montana, the greatest 49er quarterback to ever live. My favorite player of all time. Here's a crazy stat. He never threw an interception in the Super Bowl ever and won 4 of them. Now, if he could have stayed healthy, he could have been number 1, but Steve Young easily replaced him in San Francisco and won another Super Bowl, so I don't know. Omaha, set. You already knew who I was talking about. The runner-up to my list, Peyton Manning, the smartest quarterback to ever live. He could read a defense like the back of your palm. The only thing keeping him from number 1 is his inconsistencies in the playoffs. If he could have had even 1 more ring when he played, that could have put him over the top at number 1. Before we get to the number 1 spot, I'd like to say some honorable mentions to my list. Eli Manning, Roger Staubach, Otto Graham. You also have Jim Kelly, Tony Romo, just some guys that I thought you might want to hear their names. But number 1 is Zach Wilson. I told you, he's the GOAT. Got that dog in him, man. Okay, the real number 1, as you probably have guessed now, it's Tom Brady. He's still doing it as a 40-year-old. He's smashing records. And he's just such a fun person to watch play football. And for all you Tom Brady haters out there, I would appreciate if you actually started to watch him and not hate him. Because in a couple years, or maybe even next year, he'll be gone. And you'll never be able to see him play or even hate on him. I don't care. But hey, this was my list. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and we out.